Hum. Hum. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Simone Slattery. This is Anthony Albrecht, and we are the Baobab Collective, and we make art for nature. And tonight we're going to take you on a bit of a dreamy journey, if you haven't guessed already, which happens to be all about one of our favourite species, migratory shorebirds. Has anyone heard of a migratory shorebird? Anyone? My mum has, yes! Anyone else? Only my mum? Oh, one other. Oh, my stepdad. Oh, yes. They really are paying attention to my projects. It's working. Chat to them, they know all about it. Migratory shorebirds are a truly miraculous species. They are small brown birds that dwell on the edges of our coastline, only some particular parts of our coastline. Some of their favourites are right here in South Australia. And these are birds that feed furiously in the mudflats during our summer months in Australia in order to fatten up, literally become clinically obese, so that they can fly kilometres and kilometres across the oceans to their breeding grounds in the tundra of Alaska and Siberia. They go there, they breed, they have a good time, and then they come back and do it all again. It is truly miraculous. And there's one particular species, it's called a bar-tailed godwit, and you will learn a lot more about them later in the program, that flies back from the breeding grounds non-stop all the way to Australia, as far as Tasmania. That is over 13,500 kilometres and over a week of non-stop flying. These birds truly are little miracles, and we are obsessed with them. And we have created an entire show called Life on Land's Edge about these birds because they, as you can imagine, are becoming critically endangered. They have a lot of threats they have to face along the way, most of them man-made. So our mission through our projects is to raise awareness of these incredible birds, to make people fall in love with them such that they feel completely compelled to want to protect them. And what you just heard was a bit of an improvisation, but mostly a piece that I wrote a couple of years ago called Invisible Connections, inspired by these birds. Because as they fly, as they migrate between us and all their stopping points along the way through Southeast Asia, they are drawing invisible connections between all our cultures and countries. And for them to survive requires all of us to work together, to cooperate and love them together, so that they can continue doing what they have done for millennia. Also in Life on Land's Edge, we were fortunate to not only write our own music, but to commission a lot of composers to respond to this theme. And one of those composers is Adelaide's own Anne Cause. I know that some of you know her, but I hope that many of you do. She is a truly wonderful human being and composer. And she wrote a piece for us that we'll play next called Sanctuary. And it is inspired by a very special part of our coast here in South Australia, in St Kilda and the Adelaide International Bird Sanctuary, a very overlooked part of our coastline, but a very, very important place for these birds, truly a sanctuary for them. And Anne wrote this piece thinking about this idea of sanctuary for the birds, but also for us. And this is the result. Thank you so much. If any of you have been to the beach in St Kilda around Thompson's Beach, I think you can really understand the palette of colours that Anne has chosen to use. It's all seaweed and dunes and soft greens and greys and browns. I just think she evokes that landscape so beautifully in that piece. We'll move next to another piece that I wrote called The Godwit and Curlew, Two Migratory Shorebird Species. And this song features at the very end of this project I've been describing, Life on Land's Edge, and is sort of my ode to these birds. I took off at twilight to capture the dawn. My love waits for me. A star in my pocket, my compass and friend. My love waits for me. The Godwit and Curlew farewell to the sun, said, wait for our daughter, her time has come. So I spread my wings and I took to the sky, and I wept for my planet below. How long will this journey go on? And her light awaits in the darkest place, her light awaits. And her light awaits in the darkest place, it waits. we are one, the light and dark, and all of life said the dawn. In the still of the night time, the dawn said to me, my love, set me free. Thank you.
Simone Slattery, everybody.
We're not done.
This is our first pub gig, and we're extremely grateful to COMA for hosting us. Iran, our friend from Melbourne, was generous enough to program us this evening, and it's a wonderful chance for us to play together again in Adelaide after quite some time. We may have been familiar to you in concerts in the past with a slightly more sort of multimedia setup. The Bauberg Collective has a bit of a calling card now of presenting our work in a multimedia style with projected visuals and soundscapes. We can offer you a soundscape shortly this evening, but for our first pub gig, we're not fully unplugged, but we're presenting in a slightly more acoustic and explicitly musical style, I suppose. And it's really beautiful to play these works to just stand on their own. And as Simone says, so many of them are inspired by this place and its coastline and its birds. Will you introduce the next piece, Simone?
I will. I decided at the last minute to add this piece into our program tonight because everything else is quite dreamy and meditative, which is kind of what Iran, who's curated these concerts, asked us to do. And it's not that I'm rebellious or anything, but I just think that maybe you need a little waking up. So we're going to play a piece called Codex on the Flight of Birds by another friend of ours that we commissioned, Chris Williams, an old high school friend of Anthony's, in fact, who happens to be extremely talented composer. And he wrote this piece inspired by the flight of these migratory shorebirds and kind of reflecting on the patterns of their flight and the mathematics behind it. And what he came up with is quite an incredible piece. You can really hear, in my part, the undulation of the birds in the sky and their wing beats. But it's also reflecting on the incredible perils they meet along the way. You know, they're often flying into the eye of a storm and getting blown way off course, and it's hugely challenging. And these migratory shorebirds, they don't have webbed feet. They can't just land in the water and have a rest. If they drop out of the sky, that's it. They have to get to land or they will perish. And so this piece is reflecting both on the incredible beauty and mathematics of flight, but also on the perils of the journey. And I'm going to do my best not to flamboyantly lift my bow into this ceiling, so wish me luck. This one will warm up my little fingies. So now that we've woken you up, we'll put you right back to sleep again. We're going to end this set with what we call a sort of musical meditation. This is a work we created, in the early pandemic for the Melbourne Fringe, which was for the very first time experimenting with online content. And I think this was, in fact, our first foray into online content. A new, brave journey for all of us at that time. We collaborated with a wonderful visual artist in Melbourne, and she wrote this poem which we set to music. It's called On the Wings of a Godwit, and it asks you to embody a bar-tailed godwit, which is the bird you may remember that does that incredible non-stop flight. So, bar-tailed godwits are medium-sized migratory shorebirds. They are one of 36 species of migratory shorebird that calls our shores home during our summer months, before heading north on a perilous flight to their breeding grounds above the Arctic Circle. Every year, millions of migratory shorebirds find what they hope to be a favourable wind and lift, flying across the globe to mate, nest, and raise a small clutch of chicks. Then the birds will return south to wait out the cold Arctic winter under our summer sun until autumn returns, and they are once again compelled to fly north, following a route that scientists call the East Asian Australasian Flyway. We invite you to inhabit the spirit of the bar-tailed godwit, to be lifted beyond borders into the boundless blue of the sky, to travel the globe and return, wings weary and feathers frayed. Feel free to close your eyes, fall asleep, we don't mind. You are a bar-tailed godwit. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. You stand at the edge of the bay, your flock a shadow of bird brown camouflage against the tide rack. Quiet, quiet, small and still, you roost and wait for the tide to turn. Quiet, quiet, small and still. And while you wait, you preen, riffle your bill through your feathers strata, eke intricate order from the complexity of plumage. Gulls fling cries to the salty winds, wheel across waves, or balance buoyant on choppy crests. But you stay still. Conserve precious resources for the flight ahead. For always there is a flight ahead. A flight ahead. Slowly, the tide retreats, reveals a maze of mud. You follows as its frothing edge dissolves into the sand. The sea recedes to the moon's command. Sunlight slants across the bay, tips each ripple silver. Among the undulations, your shadow punctuates the brightness. You dance to the tide's eternal rhythm as it unfurls the mud flats, then slowly conceals them, day after day. Sunlight slants across the bay, tips each ripple silver. The shadow punctuates the bright as you dance to the tide's eternal rhythm. Your job is now to eat, to layer flesh for warmth and fuel for the flight ahead. For always there is a flight ahead. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Your bones are strong. Your bill probes deep. Its dip chases, charges, ignited by tiny lives. One by one you gulp them down to join the store of your reserves, laid down to fuel your flight. You eat and eat. This is your mission. You have done this before. And as the earth swings round on its great axis, tilting the north toward the sun, the days cool and nights lengthen. You and your flock become restless. Stars blaze out of the wintering skies, telling tales of northern shores. Your scrimshaw bones encode the tale of permafrost melt and endless sun, divine the season of travel. And slowly your wings become restless and your organs shrink. Eating is done. North poles. Your flock shuffles. The sky beckons. You test gravity's sweet release, and the waiting is over. Small bodies hurled skyward, strong wings beating at last. The air is now your medium. And flying, you recall that the sky is full of the language of distance. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Swells, and encyclopedic winds list mountains and valleys, forests and shores. And the Earth's electric field crackles, entwines your orbit, spins energy tendrils. divine true north, its alien script translated in ancestral brains, pass code to you and make of the world a map. You fly, wings beating, never glide nor hover. Your muscles strain, you feel the chill of altitude, and winds stream about you. You are a pulse above the horizon, an arrow, a needle on a compass, all instinct and tendon. You do not stop. You do not eat. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Your bones are strong. Generations have journeyed before, hollow bones, feathers fraying, trailing tailwinds, seeking certainty, instinct bound. You trust their call. You stop on the way, once, twice. The return to Earth, a challenge. You relinquish flight reluctantly, but need to eat. These lands and seas, your ancestors' choice, are no longer pristine. Bodies press, prey is prized. This is no promised land. This is no promise. This is compromise. Marked by nets and ships, by loss and less. Industry creeps, takes prey, steals silence, eats darkness. Piece by piece, it demands your future. It is not a thing you know, but it is a thing you must survive. Sated, the sky calls again, and you rise, wings beating, north calling. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Reaching Arctic latitudes, you land. Sun hits tundra in an endless day's dazzle, keeps night at bay for as long as you need to mate and nest and hatch your chicks. Here you are no shorebird. The land spreads out, dappled by pools. Insects abound. You molt new feathers of Arctic brown and Arctic red, at one with moss, lichen, sedge. A feast of insects clouds the nightless sky. You do not flock, but solitary, create territory for mate, for nest, for eggs. 3 eggs lie, invisible as grass, all hope here. This is your mission. For 6 weeks, the ground is just soft enough. The sky is just bright enough. The air teems with insects, and you are parent, mate, not flock, not migrant, just bound to the cold to perpetuate species, until chicks hatch and precocial find food. The Arctic air resounds with calls to distract the Arctic fox from stealing the future. But again, winds creep, breathing of change. Sunlight falters, and the earth will refreeze. The tundra will sleep and be no place for you. Southern shores call you back, beckon, beacon. The south calls your name, and your bones, which are strong, have done this before. Your bones are strong. You have done this before. Thank you very much.
How about the Bowerbird Collective, Simone Slattery and Anthony Albrecht. As they alluded to, I neglected to mention earlier that this is the first of two sessions we have curated by our good friends Iran Sanatzero, and she'll be here in a couple of weeks' time. You can hear her play. Now, for the thing that the Bowerbird Collective neglected to mention, they have a CD for sale for $25. Come and see us at the door, or you can buy this one right now. No? All right, go and grab yourselves a drink. I can recommend the Stouty Stout and the Ella High Water, and I can't recommend too much more because I have to drive home, but we'll take a short break. Maybe I should stop drinking. We'll have a short break and we'll be back with Ollie Cox, who's playing the second set. See you then.